Hey y'all, it's me, your host, Coach Pilar Arthur Sneed. Thanks so much for joining me here for another episode of The Last 10th. I am so happy that you are here with me this week. This is the second to last episode in the season 2. I can't believe that we have rolled through an entire 20 episodes in this season. Thank you so much for joining me here every single week to listen in and hear the stories of runners from around the world. This week, I have on the show Jinghuan Tervalon from Pasadena, California. Mom, runner, activist, marketer, and writer. We had an awesome conversation about diversity in running and some of the different ways in which individual runners might be able to get involved in bringing and making a more equitable running community. We talked about being a parent and ways in which parents can be more compassionate and perhaps kind in the way in which they're raising their children. We talked about running and getting better as a runner. So of course we talked about that because this is a running show. So I hope that you enjoy today's episode. Let's get started. Hey y'all, it's me, your host, Coach Pilar Arthur Sneed. Thanks so much for joining me. I know that you know that I'm gonna say it. I am so excited. But every week I get the pleasure and honor of chatting with some really amazing people. And today is absolutely no different. Today, I have on the show with me, I have Jinghuan Tervalon, correct?
Yes.
All right. Very good. Very good. And Jinghuan lives in Pasadena, California. So we are in two different time zones. I love that. Chatting on the show today. Jinghuan is an avid runner. She is also a diversity warrior at this point. So we met basically through the Running Industry and Diversity Council, and we kind of connected in that way. So I am just super excited that you are here, Jinghuan. Thank you for being here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Coach Pilar. I've been a huge fan of your work for a while, so it's an honor for me to be here. And as we talked about earlier, it's Lunar New Year today.
Yes.
So such a great way to spend the holiday with you.
I feel honored, and I'm just happy to be here with you as well. So, you know where I like to start because you've listened in on the show. I would really love it if you would tell me in your own words a little bit about you.
Yes, you started really well. I am an avid runner. I have been running for about 13 years, and I started running after my firstborn, and then I started training after my second child. So it's really easy to remember how long I've been running and seriously training. My day job is at the Coca-Cola Company. I work in consumer insights and strategy and on the food service side. So I work with one of the fastest growing chains out there, Panda Express. And
excellent.
At work, I'm also, I was on the social justice agile team. So I worked a lot on Get Out to Vote. That was such a meaningful movement last year. And it's just been one of the best things that happened to me at work. At home, I call myself a tiger mom in recovery.
We'll have to talk about that.
I try not to be. But my kids might disagree with me. So I have 2 at home, 1 13, 1 5. My husband's wonderful. He's been working from home since COVID, and His schedule is a little bit more flexible than mine, so he takes more of the childcare responsibilities, which I'm so grateful for.
Absolutely.
And I love running. And recently I realized running can be such a vehicle for social change. So I have been trying to have conversations on diversity and inclusion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's just like so much. How do you find time to fit in running amidst a busy career? How do you find the time?
You love something, you just find the time.
I could not agree with you. I could not agree with you more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I told you, there's another thing I forgot to tell you. You make me feel just a little bit intimidated because you're
Really?
an ESL teacher and I am an ESL student.
No.
I am an immigrant. I came here after college when I was
Well,
22 years old. So
yeah.
don't pick on my English. So,
No, definitely not. Listen, as you are an ESL student and I am an aspiring polyglot, as they
wow.
say. So I am learning. My primary focus in learning language right now is
Mm-hmm.
is Japanese
Mm-hmm.
because I want to go, to Tokyo. Will go to Tokyo in
Mm-hmm.
2022 for the Tokyo Marathon.
Oh my
That
goodness.
that is like a
Amazing.
lifelong dream of
Yes.
mine to go there, and just to be
Yes.
able to go and immerse myself in the culture and immerse myself in
Mm-hmm.
the language will be like amazing. Most of my students are in China, and so
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning little tiny bits of Chinese. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes my students' parents are like, "Oh, Teacher Pilar,
Yes.
so
Yes.
great, so
Yes.
great that you do it." And I was going to try to say Happy New Year, and I was like, "Oh, I don't want to massacre it." So I totally get the nervousness around
Mm-hmm.
speaking a second language.
Yep.
I get that. Yeah. I mean, I could go on. Tried to study German before going to Germany,
Oh wow.
and I learned like, a few little key phrases just so I
Mm-hmm.
could like hello, goodbye, excuse
Yeah.
me, and I said
Beer.
them. Exactly. I said them so well. And then people start talking and you're like,
I don't understand. You're speaking way too fast.
"Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, you're talking to me."
Too fast. Yes. I get it.
So do not be nervous. All of that to say, do not be nervous. We're
Thank
not in
you.
class.
Okay, teacher Pilar.
So when you decided that you wanted to get started in running after your
Mm-hmm.
first child was
Mm-hmm.
born,
Mm-hmm.
what was the motivating factor? And that's the first part of the question. Then the second part of the question is had you been a runner before?
Yeah, I love these questions. I can talk about running all day. Um, when I first started running, it was more around two things. I wanted to lose weight, get back in shape. You gain a little bit weight every time you have a child, and I just
Sure.
wanted to shed that weight. And also to get over a heartbreak because the father of my child actually left us.
Wow.
So it was a very difficult, very challenging time in my life, and
Mhm.
running was a way to clear my head, to get myself regrounded, and to have the courage to face the daily hardship every day. I'm so grateful that I was able to run, and I ran several years just as a quote unquote casual runner. No
Mhm.
goals, just jogging 3 to 5 miles every day. And with my second one, I was a little bit more desperate to run because, I had been a runner for quite a few years. And I thought, having the second child, the weight loss process is so hard than
Mm,
having the first one. You're
mm.
older, your body changes a little, even more slowly. So I went back to I finally decided to work with a coach, Coach Armand, who
Yeah.
hopefully you speak to soon.
Yes.
And I said to Coach Armand, I said, I just cannot wait to get back to running. I said, I need to lose the weight.
Yes.
And his words were to me, I cannot help you with losing weight. I can help you with running. I can help you get faster.
Sure.
But I cannot help you with losing weight. He said, when you put in the work, when you run, the weight loss might come naturally. But I don't want our
Absolutely.
goal to be around losing weight. And that was one of the most powerful things I've ever remembered from him. And I learned more
Absolutely.
from him, from my coach. Yeah. And to the second part of your question, I was not a runner. I grew up in China where the focus has always been school. What are your grades? How are you doing at school? How do you rank? In holidays, grandparents are always like, telling your grades against your cousin's grades and comparing you to all
Yes.
the kids, right?
Yes.
I was actually a swimmer. I was fairly competitive in terms of swimming. I made it to like almost the province team, like a state level competitor. But my parents pulled me out, I think probably in eighth grade. They really wanted me to focus in
Wow.
school. They were like, the path to competitive swimming and to be an athlete is so narrow in China, and we don't want you to be on that path. We want you to focus on school. We want you to do well in school. And that's sort of a more proven path, right? And at that time, I was still a kid. I did not fight because it was hard. It was hard to focus on school and swim. I was exhausted. So I was like, fine, I'm done.
I'm good with that. I'm okay with that.
Now I think back, I'm like, oh, damn, man, maybe I should have stayed. But, you can't go back. I love that. I always tell my friends, if you don't like running, you don't think you have the knees or the joints for it, just do another sport as long as you move your body. That's what's critical.
I agree. I could not agree with that anymore. Of course, it took me until I was 40
Mm-hmm.
43, really. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, the middle of my life to discover that movement
Mm-hmm.
was like this thing that has
Yes.
so much power. I,
Yes.
I I was a person who I would see people running and I would be like,
Mm-hmm.
I do not understand why they
Yes.
are doing that. Like, why are they doing that?
Yeah.
Who does that?
Same. Same. Same.
There's
Yeah.
something wrong with these people out here running around like they're just
Exactly.
crazy. I
They're
don't run,
crazy.
I
Mm-hmm.
walk. This is what
Yep.
I do.
Or I drive.
Or I drive, and that's how I go about my life. But I
Yeah.
don't know, something happened where it was just like, okay, I have asthma and I was finding myself not being able to get up a flight of stairs without getting
Mm-hmm.
winded. And I
Yeah.
was like, this is probably not likely to get any better as I get
Mm-hmm.
older.
Yeah.
So maybe I might want to just do a little change.
Yeah.
But I don't think that I could have imagined, I did not imagine that I
Yeah.
would be here.
Mm-hmm. Yes. You've come a long way.
2020.
Yes. We all come a long way. Yeah.
Indeed, indeed.
Yes.
What was the moment when in your running journey where you were just like, this is like my jam. This is my thing. I
Mm-hmm.
have to do this.
Mm-hmm. I don't think there were one single moment that really like the light bulb just went on. I think it was several moments. Um, when I don't run, end of the day, I will feel sad. And I
Mm,
wouldn't even understand why. Then
mm,
I'm like, oh, I did not run today.
mhm,
That's why I'm feeling sad. And,
mhm,
coming back from having a second child to straight up just training with a coach, having a rigorous schedule,
mm,
that was another sort of a moment of awakening because
mm,
you now you're like, oh, this is what it takes to have a goal and chase after that goal. It
mm,
takes planning, it takes goal setting, it takes teamwork to actually get there. I also, through that process, really learned these are the key principles of good performance in general that I can take and apply at work. It's consistency, it's having belief in oneself, it's counting on your team to do the hard work together. It's never
Yes.
alone. So I feel like running taught me almost everything that I need to know about life. Right? It's
Absolutely.
pacing. It's pacing yourself. It's setting the an ambitious goal, but in the short term also a realistic goal. So you can achieve there. From there, you go a little bit more, right? Chipping
Mm-hmm.
away at that huge goal that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree with that so much. So much. I'm just like, yup. Consistency.
Yes.
To me, consistency is like that's the main thing. It
Yeah.
doesn't really matter if you run 10 miles every day, if you run a half a mile every day, but if you do that thing and you do that, whatever your chosen schedule is, if you're going to run once every other day, if you do that, you will get better.
Yeah.
It's a proven fact that you'll
Yeah.
get better by putting in the time and the energy and consistently working at it. And I
Yeah.
think that a lot of times, especially newer runners, they kind of like expect like, oh, it's just going to happen. Like it should just happen. I should be running like that guy.
Exactly. And you don't know the amount of work that guy put into. Yes.
Exactly.
Michael Jordan had famously said, everyone wants to be the champion, but nobody
Mhm.
wants to put in the work of a champion.
Oh yeah.
And I keep that
There's
in mind.
absolutely. I have
Mm-hmm.
on my coaching Facebook page, I have
Mm-hmm.
a saying that says something like, "Everybody, the magic is in the work that you're avoiding."
Oh, I love that. I love that.
That's where the rubber meets the road. It's in the work. It's
It's in
not
the
the
work.
result. The
Yeah.
work is what gets you where you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's the process. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
love that.
so tell me a little bit about, how schooling
Mm-hmm.
has kind of transferred over into now, okay, now you're working for Coca-Cola Company,
Mm-hmm.
and like how has that impacted your just your regular everyday life, your career choices and things that have kind of propelled you forward professionally?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, I think um, it, the idea of bringing one's whole self to work is so important.
Mm.
Um, I used to joke to my coworkers, I'm like, feel free to call me the run hole. You know who the run hole is, right? Someone who cannot stop talking about their mileage, their running shoes, their injuries, this ache, that pain. I'm like, I know I'm doing all this to you guys, and I'm really sorry.
But isn't that
And
every runner anyway?
right, right. What I appreciate about my team and the Coca-Cola Company in general is that they really let me be myself. They're
Yes.
okay with me being a run hole. They're okay with me talking about running nonstop. And
Yes.
they also realize, it. Let's take advantage of that too, right? Because,
Mm.
like I said, the idea of high performance is so similar in sports and also in business.
Mhm.
We've done a project called the Energy Project
Mm.
at work. It's all about, yes, you have the high performance zone that you need to be in, but the recovery is equally important, right? When we run, the hardest thing for us to learn as a new runner is all probably this lesson of running slow, right?
Oh my
Being
gosh.
in the back of the bus, letting your ego go away, letting those fast
That's
reps
right.
go.
That's
My
right. That's
today
right.
is my 15 easy mile day. I'm just gonna hang out in the back and
That's right.
so chill, no ego. I'm gonna go my 9-minute mile and you guys go, right?
That's right. That's right.
It's sort of the similar idea in business as well. Like you cannot stay in that high performance zone forever. You're going to get
Mm-hmm.
burned out. You have to take
Mm-hmm.
time, recenter yourself, do self-care, and have a very balanced life. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I really appreciate being in this environment where I can talk about what I've learned in running and apply it at work.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Do you think that Coach Armand had an impact on your coming to sort of like that aha moment about this rest recovery equation, or was it like sort of on your own,
Oh gosh, I
or
totally
both?
credit to my coach, Coach Armand, and my teammates, because my
Absolutely.
teammates also role model for that, right?
Yes.
It's my coach, it's everyone around you. You like it's hard to do if everyone is else is speeding up around you, and you're like, oh gosh, I have to keep up.
Oh,
On like
absolutely.
chill, easy days, we're really doing chill pace. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you mentioned a pace. You said, "Oh, my 9 minute pace." I'm like, "Oh, 9 minute pace is like my hard pace." That's so nice that you can do 9 minutes and that's your easy pace.
Right, right. Do you I remember reading an article about how, Kenyan and Ethiopian runners run, right? They would start at a very chill pace of 8 minutes, right? They'll talk about, oh, they're known for switching the pace middle of the run, and then they'll just go off. But they always start like 8:20, really easy. I was like, okay. It's so relative, right? It's
It
so
really is. It's
relative.
something I think that I talk about, with every guest on every podcast, is just this relativity of speed.
Hmm.
And I think that also really ties into that idea of how important rest, and then what you said, which, is like really putting your ego aside and saying like, okay, if I'm a 12-minute per mile runner,
Hmm.
and my easy pace is 14 minutes per mile, I have to be comfortable with the fact that like I'm going at a turtle's pace when on
Yeah.
my easy days. And I have to be okay with that and not like feel like somebody's going to
Yes.
see what I'm doing and they're going to think
Yes.
I'm terrible runner.
And the other thing I've learned is, when I see people on the road and they're going really slow, I used to feel like, oh, you guys are so slow. Now I look at them because I've gone through maternity. I have so much respect.
Mhm.
You see someone carrying a little bit more weight on you, you just realize how much harder that person is trying.
Mhm.
I gained over 50 pounds when I
Wow.
was pregnant with my second, and I didn't shed much of that weight. Just giving birth to her, maybe I lost 10 pounds, but still I had 40 pounds, and it was hard. You
Yeah.
know, you can look at someone and say, "Oh, they're just galloping and they're so good," but the person who might not look intuitively like a runner, they're
Mhm.
working just as hard.
Mhm.
I
Agreed.
love what Meb always says. The pain is the same. The only difference is
Absolutely.
time on the clock.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I could not agree with you more. You have said throughout the course of this conversation, you've mentioned your teammates. So
Hmm.
I'm assuming that with the Pasadena Pacers, the group that you're a part of, that you are a
Hmm.
very close knit group of people. Do y'all go to races together and all that kind of thing?
Yes, yes. In the pre-pandemic days when we still had races, absolutely. So, yeah, I have to give a shout out to my club, the Pasadena Pacers, incredible team. We have a smaller group called the 20-mile challenge group. It
Oh.
We had that name years ago was because running 20 miles was a huge deal. So
Hmm.
we called it the 20-mile challenge group. And people started qualifying for Boston. Next thing you know, this small group we had over 30 people qualifying for
Wow.
in 1 year out of maybe
Wow.
40 people.
Wow.
It just opened a floodgate. You see
Wow.
someone who you always run with, you're like, he can qualify for Boston, so can I. And you see just the floodgate open. It's incredible.
Wow.
And Coach Armand has a training group called FACT Training. It stands
Yes.
for Fortius Citius Altius Training Group. And he's been coaching for decades. He's just such a role model, a great voice in the community, a great leader. So I have been training with him too. I think, yeah, it's been 5 years with the birth of
Wow.
my second child, and we support each other. And again, shout out to my coach. Every year, like he goes to CIM in Sacramento, California International Marathon, right? He
Yes.
flies there on his own dime. He stands at mile 20, cheers us on. The things that we do to support each other is
Yes.
incredible. My husband used to say, oh, he still says that. He's like, you guys are like a wolf pack. You move at the same pace. It's always a group. It's never
Yeah.
alone. He's like, am I your running widow? Golf widow. Maybe I'm just a running widow. He was.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Amazing. Amazing. I think that it's awesome to have a crew of people that you can basically show up to a race and you know that there are people there who are going to be there to support you and have your back, no matter what. I think that that's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I want to talk to you about this recovering tiger mom.
Oh boy. You're really going there.
Tell me more about that. Tell me more about that.
I think it's, in our culture, because education is so important. Um, we grew up in this hyper competitive culture where
Absolutely.
expectations are sky high. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that's why my parents pulled me out of the swim team and say, hey, go focus on school. I used to hear words like, if you don't make that key high school, my mom said this to me, I'm going
Mm.
to break your legs and you're going to stay
No,
home 3 months without
no.
seeing anyone. Um, and
Did she mean it?
oh, she meant it. And I did make it to the,
She wasn't really going to break your legs.
and she was going to give me a good beating for sure.
Oh my God.
I think
Damn.
the idea of you you've been given a good life. My parents' generation went through the Cultural Revolution. They went through
Mm-hmm.
famine. They always tell me and my brother, you guys don't have any material worries. Yes, we're not super rich. We don't own multiple houses, but you don't have to worry about your next meal. You've been given so much. Now go make the best out of it. Do
Mm-hmm.
not give me any excuses just because you're not trying hard enough.
Mm.
So I kind of have taken that parenting approach to my kids, right? We're not super rich. We're probably solidly middle class, and
Mm.
you guys have been given every single opportunities. You don't have to worry about roof over your head. You don't have to worry about meals and shoes, clothing, none of that. So do the best you can. You owe it to yourself to maximize your talent. And I
Mm.
don't care what you do, whether it's school, whether it's sports, do something with your life. Make a difference. Make
Mm.
other people's lives better.
Mm.
Um, the thing that I do hope to change is that, growing up just in a Chinese family, even now, like the tiger parents show up as always being critical, right? If I
Mm.
go home, I see my parents, my weight is never right. It's either you're gaining weight, what's wrong with you? Go lose some weight. Or
Uh,
it's you're too skinny. What's wrong?
mm.
Are you not
Yes.
eating enough, right?
Yes. Yes.
So it's always that. So I hope to instill a very healthy body image with my
Mm,
kids.
mm.
It's and part of that is also validating who they are.
Oh, absolutely.
It's telling them, yes, we're all flawed and we have different talents, and that is okay, right? I want to pull back saying, be academically successful.
Mm,
Otherwise, the world is going to collapse.
right.
No, I want to give them choices. I force them to show up with courage every day and do their damn hardest.
Mm,
But I also wanted them to be aware there are choices.
mm,
You don't have to be the typical successful Asian kid. You're a doctor, you're an engineer, you're a lawyer, you have a PhD, you have an MD. You don't have to do that.
mm.
You do have to go to college. Please do not be a college dropout. But you can choose your own career path. It might be difficult, but if you are trying and the things that you're doing give you meaning and purpose in life, go do it. Go chase
Absolutely.
after your dreams.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what if one of the
Mm-hmm.
kids decides they'd like to do start a business before going to college?
It's hard, right? There's a thing called the gap year, right? I give you a year.
Well, like, what if it becomes, like, what if it becomes successful, right? Like, I mean,
Mhm,
I throw that out there. You really don't have to answer.
mhm. It's going to be a hard choice.
Because
And
I totally
mhm,
get it. I totally get it.
mhm,
I when I hear um, my Chinese friends talking about this cultural aspect, I relate very much to this cultural aspect
mhm,
because it was
mhm.
very much the same in
Yes.
my family.
Yeah.
Education, education, education.
Yes.
Nothing less than a B would be acceptable. And getting a
Mhm,
B was not really very good.
mhm. Oh, it's not. Getting an A minus is not good.
And so
Yes. Yes.
so I went through like a very long time, like literally like this sort of awakening in life coincided with this
Mhm,
running opportunity of like, oh, all the things that my family taught me about the
mhm,
person that I was supposed to be, I didn't have to be that. I don't have to be that. And that
mhm.
I'm learning this now in my 40s is
Yeah.
like crazy to me because it was so like just so ingrained in my
Yes.
being
Yes.
so much.
Yes. I do have to say that it's good to put that burden on you and always try to show up at your best. But it's
Mm.
also, as I get older, it's also important to give yourself grace
Oh,
to
yes.
say, yes, I've tried and it's okay. And I'm going to try again. And I'm not going to beat myself up for failing. Um, I can tell you the first maybe 2 years working with Coach Armand, he'll tell you the same thing. I used to beat myself up if I had a bad workout. I'd be
Mm,
like, oh my God, I did not hit that pace. What's wrong with me? I
right.
would ask questions as what's wrong with me? Like
Right.
it would hurt me and on my own self-worth. Now I'm
Yes.
like, yeah, I had a bad workout. So be it.
That's right.
I had a bad workout. It's
That's
a shitty
right.
day. Oh well. Moving on.
Moving on, because one workout does not
Exactly.
define you, and it doesn't
Exactly.
define, your running life or your running career. It's just one bad workout. And
Yes,
tomorrow maybe it'll be
exactly.
better and maybe it
It's
won't
another
be.
day.
I mean, it'll be another
Yeah.
day.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's the process, right? It's the process of
absolutely.
putting in that work consistently.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about changing gears a little bit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk a little bit about the Running Industry Diversity Council
Yep.
and your work in diversity. How did you get involved with the council? How did that come about?
Um, I had been a fan of Allison Desires for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I recently shared this with her, which kind of made me chuckle. I said, when the news of Arbery was spreading and we all did that run with Maud, we hashtagged, we run in his honor. And I also came across Allison Desires' article on Outside Magazine.
Mm.
It literally lit a fire in me.
Mm.
What I realized was, my goodness, we have not been protecting our own runners, right? Our own runners of color. And me, as someone who is Chinese American, I never had to think about my safety. And the change happened when I read her article and I decided I need to make amends. I've been kind of relying and gliding on this model minority myth. And it's time for me to go to work. And I told her, the funny thing is that my husband, by getting married to my husband, who is Black, did not change me profoundly, did not make me woke. By having a child who's mixed race, who the world will see as Black, did not make me woke. I said, Allison, it was your article. Because we were all part of Oiselle Volee, and I think when I signed up, when she started running Industry Diversity Coalition, I put in a note saying, I'm happy to volunteer. This is the list of things I can do for you guys. And I started just writing and sending out their newsletter for them. And from there, joined some meetings. And because of what I do at work, I told them these are the things I can also help you with, like collecting data, reading studies, fielding studies. So they invited me to be on the advisory board.
Wow.
It was her.
Wow.
I give her full credit. Yes.
I have to say, I have to say that you bring up actually a very valid point about interracial relationships, right? I think that oftentimes people feel that because they're in an interracial relationship or maybe a mixed religion relationship, whatever the mixture may be, that somehow just by the very fact that your partner is a different culture than you, that you just get slotted in this this awake this as you call it, you get this wokeness. The reality is, as you have pointed out, you still have to do work because we come to the table with all of our own life experiences, and those life experiences do not disappear simply because you marry someone who is not a part of your culture.
Thank you. Well said. I cannot say this better, Coach Pilar. And I feel like when you're in a relationship, you see this person as his own person. Like I see my husband, brilliant writer, funny, makes me laugh, just a wonderful man to be around, cooks great food, leaves dirty socks all over the house. You see this person as a spouse, right?
Yes,
you're like, I don't want to do the racial work with you. No.
Yes, that's right. I agree. I get it. Yeah, my husband and I, we have been together for this year in May. I think it'll be 30 years.
Wow.
I think I could be pushing it, but it's
close to 30 years.
It's close to 30 years.
That's amazing.
When he comes from Kentucky, poor families, and he always talks about, how, when we talk about police interactions and different
Mm-hmm.
things like that, he's like, well, the police did not work for me, because I was a kid who was from the other side of the tracks,
Mm-hmm.
but we would frequently
Mm-hmm.
at the beginning of our relationships, we would have
Mm-hmm.
conversations about, what it means for me to be a Black woman walking around in the world and
Mm-hmm.
how that plays out. And it took
Mm-hmm.
many interactions and actually seeing it for himself to be like,
Mm. Oh, I get it now. Yes, yes. I
oh,
I went through the same. I went through the same. So when we were dating, I remember one time we were driving somewhere. My husband was driving, and he was like, "I have to stop, pull over." I was like, "Why?" He's like, "I left my wallet in the back of the car, in the trunk." I said,
mm,
"So what?" He's like, "No, no, no, you don't understand. If we get pulled over and I'm asked to show my ID and I have to get out of the car, go to the trunk of the car and retrieve my wallet, I will be in a lot of trouble."
right.
I still like I didn't take it so seriously at the time. And I
Mm,
kind of laughed at the fact that he literally pulled to the side of the street
mm,
and went back to get his wallet.
mm,
Now I'm like, oh my God, that was so
yes.
naive of me to
Mm,
assume that it was all for nothing. It
mm,
was self protection, it
absolutely.
was you seeking safety.
Absolutely.
When I see now runner of color, especially like black and brown runners on the street, I'm like, I now feel protective, right? Because they could be harassed at any minute.
Mm-hmm.
Um, with the recent increase in hate crimes against Asians, I was
Yes.
harassed. But just this past Tuesday, I was
Yes.
harassed by someone walking the dog on the street. I was called ugly. I was called to get the fuck out of her street
Mm.
and disgusting and sweaty pig, all those things.
Oh my goodness.
And I thought to myself, this is a wave of anti-Asian hate.
Mm-hmm.
And could it go away? Probably, hopefully soon. But this is the reality a lot of our brown and black brothers and sisters face every day. And
Absolutely.
and we have to stand together to fight
Mm-hmm.
against this hate. And it's
Absolutely.
only by standing together that we can address this. Otherwise, it's just too hard. It's
Absolutely.
too hard.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. And continually, um, having the conversation. I feel like we're in a different place now in this sort of post Trump. Now it's post Trump.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It
Thank
wasn't
God.
post Trump for so long.
I know. Good to good to not read his
But
tweets and
oh yeah,
get
like,
outraged.
oh
Mm-hmm.
my goodness. It just every day you're just like, mm.
How low can we go? Right? Every
I'm
day
sure
you're like, what now? How low can this nation sink?
I'm sure we could go lower. But especially now in this time
Mm-hmm.
where it could be so easy to rest on our laurels and think, oh well, we don't really have to talk about this anymore.
It's not done. We're so far from it. And I love this idea, when I don't know when like the running analogy became so popular at work and in business, right?
Mm.
You always hear, oh, this project is like a marathon and we're at mile 20. Let's not hit the wall. Let's keep on going, right? Keep our pace. And you're like, you
To
stop
which,
that
yeah,
language.
yeah, yeah. And then to which you always kind of like when people say that, you kind of laugh. You're like, but have you run a marathon? Do you really know
Exactly,
what
right?
that really is like? I
Right.
mean, do you
Yeah,
really?
exactly. And now with COVID, the analogy more shifted towards this is a triathlon. It requires fast pivot to different skills. You're first going to swim, You're going to rely on this skill, and then you're going to pivot, and then your endurance needs to kick in. You're like, oh my God, this is great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then what I realized was, man, that the work of diversity, inclusion, and equality is sort of a race, but it's so much harder. It's a race without a finish line. You're never done. Ever. There's no one like the Marine Corps Marathon, a bunch of handsome Marines at the end handing you medals, and there's no one there to give you a medal saying, hey, great job.
That's
no
right.
one. There's
That's
no
right.
spectators. There's no one to cheer you on. There's no cowbells. There's
right.
nothing. All we can do is rely on each other.
That's right.
And it's hard. It's hard. And sometimes, like, I wake up thinking, oh gosh, I just want to curl up and, you know, it's a good day. I don't have too much. I don't want to be the only voice talking about how we need diversity. I need people to do it with me.
Absolutely. Sometimes it does feel like that. But even if you're the only person talking, you're getting something done.
Yes. Yes. I feel the weight of responsibility. It's like, if not me, who? Who else can do this? If not today, if not now, then when?
Absolutely.
And corporate world, I am so sick and tired of hearing, oh, it takes a long time. Change comes slowly. No, it takes intention. It takes collective commitment. It takes work. We have to bring intent to it. The things are not going to change on its own. We have to be intentional.
Yes. It's the magic.
Yes.
The magic is in the work.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. So I so much agree with what you say in terms of like the intention, because I feel like at least I feel like within the running community anyway, from what I can see that's happening right now, it really does feel like within the running community that there is intention and work that's being done. Perhaps not in all of the areas of the running community. So as for instance, in the ultra marathoning community, they're just like, we're just not going to talk about that. We're going to pretend like it's just utilitarian and everybody can just show up and it's great.
Yeah. Yes.
But in a broader sense, I feel like it's there. But on a national level, particularly right after the election, there was a lot of, calling for let's stay unified. And I think that, yes, as Black and brown people, yes, we need to be continually talking about this issue, even though there is so much fatigue around having these conversations. But I personally can't, in terms of like a white supremacist or someone who just, hates me because I'm Black, or hates me because I'm a woman, or hates me because I'm married to a white guy. I can't be unified with you. I can't, and I won't. There's work that needs to be done in terms of like that.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
It does. I do think a lot of that responsibility falls on white people. They, I've shared this at work also. I said, I don't let the idea that we're not making enough progress, don't let that trigger guilt. I don't need your white guilt. I need your action. I need your action. I need you to amplify our voices. You have been given a privilege. Yes, not out of your own choice, but you're here now. Use that for good. Think about how you can reallocate resources and power. Share that power. Share that privilege. Extend it. Include people of color on your table. If you are in a position of making decisions, include us on the table. If you are working towards there, we are here on the journey with you. It's not a contentious relationship. I love how, I think it was comedian Amanda Seales, she said there are two types of white people. There are white people and there are people who happen to be white.
Okay.
It's all about how you use your privilege. So I do think that the work of regulating your own feeling, regulating your sense of shame or embarrassment or guilt, that falls on you. That falls on you, white people. But the work of education, of teaching, that's on all of us. I cannot say, I cannot throw a book, white fragility, in someone's face and say, go read the book and come back and talk to me when you're done. I'm willing to do that education work. I think it's on all of us.
Okay. I will take that. I will accept that. I'll think on it.
Speaking to a teacher, huh?
Well, you know, like the thing is that at some point in time, I don't know if I've even talked about this on the podcast. I may have talked about it a little bit, but 2017, right after right after Donald Trump got elected, this time period of 2017 was like mentally speaking was just it was so hard. And I know that like last year I feel like that people were kind of going through what I feel like I went through in 2017. Like that's the way it seems that folks were feeling.
Yeah.
I felt everywhere that I went, I felt unsafe. All of my white friends that I knew, I didn't think that I could trust them. And it was so like I was terrified everywhere that I went. It was horrible.
Yeah.
And I also came to this like I don't want to call it like a realization, but I came to this point where I was just like, I have, and this is because of the fact that I have spent my life in predominantly white environments. I came to this decision that I was like, I will not take the responsibility of educating white people about what it's like to be me, about what it's like to exist in this body, because I can't do that for you anymore. If you, as you said, if you're not willing to educate yourself, if the expectation is that I'm always going to show up and be like, here's how it is, and you're just like,
see me, know me. Yes. Yeah, I get it. There's the sense that we have been doing that work for so long. Now pick up the work that you've left hanging, right? It's a I don't know if I follow Brene Brown, and one of
yes, I have a couple of her books.
I love her. One of her recent conversation was with this person who wrote who has a podcast called An Uncomfortable Conversation with a Black Man. They had talked about that as well. And he said, I got hate around like, why are you doing so much to white people? And he did mention that he felt responsible. And I also get that folks are fatigued. It's exhausting. And it's been hundreds of years that we've seen substantial changes. And ever since the civil rights movement, there hasn't been any profound changes in this country. So I can see both views. I can, yes, it's sort of a opposing view, but I see both. I see both sides.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And I'm here. I'm ready to do the work. And if I have to talk to all my white friends, co-workers about why Black Lives Matter, I will be that voice. If I have to tell them why diversity matters and how diversity is different from inclusion, then let it be me. Otherwise, I don't know.
I understand.
A lot of other people who do that work.
That's right. That's
right. Sad that we're in square one and we still have to make a case out of it. rather than, okay, this is what we need to do now. We
That's
are
right.
still building consensus. It's a sad reality.
It's true.
I get it.
I feel like, maybe we're this much closer to
I think
consensus.
the ears are open right now. That is the biggest progress. The ears are open.
Yes. Yes. And many, people are having like their eyes are like, whoa, I can't, like that moment that we both talked about where you have this aha moment, like, oh, that's what you meant when you said you you didn't want, you were like, whatever, you were afraid to get pulled over or whatever. Oh, that's what you meant. Oh, I see. That makes sense now. I get it.
I know. Yeah. And, in training, how in marathon training, we always talk about cumulative fatigue.
Ah, yes.
I get that now. You deal with that day after day, one small microaggression after another. You are damn tired.
It's so true. It's so true. I mean, fortunately, I got through 2017. I got back into therapy, and therapy, I say this all the time, therapy is a wonderful thing. It was so helpful for me. But, I've also talked about in past podcasts, like how, mental illness is just, it's like this thing. And I felt like myself kind of going back to old habits, and I didn't want to go there. And I just was like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. It's a horrible place to be. And now having come through, I don't want to go back to that. And I'm just, it obviously, I say I don't want to educate people, but here we are on this podcast.
Thank you. There you go. You're doing it right now. You're having this important conversation.
And exactly. And we're having the conversations, and I've been having the conversations. And so I am doing the work. It's just,
you are. Yes. And thank you for including me in this work.
Of course.
I feel so honored.
Of course. I feel honored similarly that you are here. So if you could offer to the listeners like some sort of brass tacks ways that they might be able to, within their own communities at large, but in their running communities, that they might be able to do some kind of diversity work.
I think first is just surround yourself of that with diverse people, and be intentional about who you include in your circle of trust, who you run with, who you share a water bottle with. Now it's COVID, but different times.
That's right.
How you build your own network, right? It's so, to a lot of white people, it is about intentionally including other people in your circle. For runners of color, it's checking in on each other. Are you okay? How are you doing? I so appreciate a lot of my friends checking in on me with the recent hate crime and just violence against Asians in Oakland, in San Francisco. People are like, how are you feeling? I have a friend who sent DoorDash me pies. Like, oh my gosh.
That's so sweet.
So sweet. She's so sweet. And don't be afraid to have difficult conversations. It's going to be uncomfortable.
Yes.
And I love this idea of also, we're not calling you out, we're calling you in.
Yes.
Switching from a call-out culture to a call-in culture, right? It's, yes, you might have said something off in the past, and it's wrong, and we're going to let you sit in that discomfort for a while. But here we save the seat on that table, and once you make amends, once you learn, you're always welcome to join us again.
Absolutely.
It's never, we're going to write you out and you're the bad person and you're out of our community. It's having this view, everyone can change and grow. And we are inclusive enough, and we take a longer view, and we pull everyone who wants to do the right work in.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that.
Thank you.
So my last question for you today, Jinghuan, is if you, aside from what we've talked about, but if you had advice that you would like to give or advice that you have been given, what would it be? What would it be? Running or anything?
I think as far as running, I do think consistency is the number one thing that will help you with your performance. It's about putting in the work consistently. So give yourself grace. Don't beat yourself up if you have a bad workout or bad race. Know that every mile that you put in the body is going to show up later. And the other advice is that just because you think you're a slow runner, all relative, right?
That's right.
Please don't think because you're slow, you don't deserve resources.
Oh, yeah.
You do. You do deserve resources. There are people like Coach Pilar who coach people, hire a coach, join a team, buy those damn running shoes.
Yes.
Don't be cheap.
Yes.
Yeah. Support your local running store, right? Yes. Invest in yourself. If you want to be a high-performing runner, be willing to invest, and you deserve it.
That's right.
And I always tell my family, and especially my husband, I said, I don't do my nails. I don't do my hair. I spend everything, all my own disposable income on running. And
that's right.
I'm worth it, right? I am worth it.
That is so true. I could not agree with that advice anymore. That's so true. Thank you so much. Oh, this has been so amazing. So amazing. Is there anything that you would like to share that anything that I didn't ask, anything you wanted to, you were like, I really wanted to talk about?
Because of this data that by sharing goals openly and publicly, you're more likely to achieve it, right? So I'm going to put my big goals out there. I am trying to hit a 540 mile.
Oh my goodness.
I'm trying to hit a 235, 800 meters.
Wow.
Those are my big goals. And this year I'm focused so much on the shorter distance and track workout. And I want to get to a 19-minute 5K. So those are my big goals. I'm going to put it out there, out in the universe. So please.
You can do it. I know you can do it.
Thank you, Pilar.
You got this. You got this.
Thank you. And once I achieve those goals, then I'll move back doing some longer races like the marathon. And Tokyo Marathon is also on my list.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I just
cannot
wait.
How did you even get in?
I applied in the first, it was the first time I ever applied, and I got in.
Oh my God, you're so lucky.
It's crazy. It's so crazy. It was like, I was just like, okay, you know what? I'm just, I know nobody ever gets into this race. Like, it takes forever. So I'm just going to put my name in. So it was like that night, it's 3:00 in the morning, and I'm like, I got to get up. I got to go look. I go to my computer and I check my computer and I'm just like, oh my God, holy shit. I just got in. I can't even believe this. I'm just like I said, it's 3:00 in the morning. So I want to go to my husband, wake up. I got into the Tokyo Marathon. Now, of course, going back to what you said in terms of treat yourself. Okay. My husband's initial reaction was like, how are we going to pay for that?
And you're like, we are going to figure it out.
I don't know, but we will figure it out because we are going to Tokyo.
Coach class, Airbnb. if that's what it takes, right?
If we have to, I mean, I don't know, but we're doing this. This is happening. Yeah.
It's happening.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh
That's
my
amazing.
goodness.
I am so happy for you.
Yeah. I'm happy for you. I know you have got these goals and you can do this. You totally can do it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Coach Bill.
You've got a great coach at your back. So, and a great team of people who are supporting you. So I have no doubt, no doubt.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I
Yeah.
take your words, and it's going to happen. Thank you,
Yes.
Coach Pilar.
Yes. Jinghuan, it has been so amazing to have you on the show today. I'm so happy that we had an opportunity to chat today.
Same here, same here. And I'm going to go off and eat some dumplings to
All right.
celebrate Chinese New Year.
All right. Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
I'd like to take a moment to thank Jinghuan for joining me on the show today. Jinghuan, I had a really great time getting to know you just a little bit better. I've also been having a really great time getting to know you via social media channels and through your work on the Running Industry Diversity Coalition and Council. So just a really great opportunity to connect with you today. Thanks for joining me. For you, my listeners, I will put information about the RIDC, Running Industry Diversity Coalition. I'll put that information in the show notes. If you have not, at this particular point in time, if you have not signed up for their newsletter, which Jinghuan edits each month, you should definitely do so. This is a really great organization for you to personally do work on diversifying and decolonizing the running industry. And if you have a company that you think might benefit in being a part of the Running Industry Diversity Coalition, I highly recommend getting them connected as well. For now, I am your host, Coach Pilar Arthur Sneed. Thank you so much for joining me here every single week. We have one more episode left in this season 2. As a coincidental side note, 1 year ago, just this month, on this very week, this podcast was officially launched. I put the debut trailer out into the world, and then shortly thereafter, the first episode was released. So I couldn't be prouder of the work that we've done together in this past year. And I really want to thank each and every one of you for being with me on this journey. So I will see you here again next week. You are not going to want to miss this episode. I have Rinny Jones from across the pond joining me on the show today. You may know her as A Brown Girl Runs on Instagram and from various media channels where she also talks about bringing more diversity into the sport of running and fitness in general. I'll see you here next week, y'all.